Good morning, or good afternoon, or evening, wherever you are and whoever you are. Thank you for being here. This is the first live podcast of Craftalytical's Talko Tuesday. So we're going to be a little bit informal with this and have a chat about whatever is on your mind. This is a new time slot for me, so I'm hoping it's going to work. And we're going to catch people as they get up out of bed in the States, ready for work, or in the UK on their lunch break. And it's all about you. It is all about you. What is on your mind today? Stream Elements is running. Let's hope it works. I usually have problems with Stream Elements. We all got through Monday. How did we get through Monday? Monday was hard this week, for me anyway. How about your Monday? Tell me how you're doing. This is a brand new segment. Because with the live streams and the videos, it's a very set format. We talk about one thing or one topic that we then kind of follow the conversation on. But with Talko Tuesday, I want it to be a little bit more freeform. I want you to be able to tell me what's going on in your lives. How can we help? How can we support you? Or let's share little wins, things that are making life worth living at the moment, so that we can all celebrate, because there is far too much bad news. If you turn on the news or you look outside your window, it just feels like everything is falling apart, rather than really looking at what we have and the solidarity that comes with an amazing community like the cheerleading squad here on Craftalytical. My Monday was it was pretty stressful. I'm getting into a new routine, which is amazing. And if you were here for the live on Friday, you know that we talked about setting yourself up for a good routine. So I'm going to bed at a good time. I am listening to hypnosis on Spotify to help me get over a bout of insomnia. I do struggle with insomnia, and that's really working. I don't feel refreshed when I get up in the morning, but that's to do with my health. But I am sleeping better. I am getting to a much deeper sleep, and it's easier to get up in the morning. The problem with being in a deep sleep, though, is I am very, very stiff when I get up in the morning. It takes a little while to walk that off. So I'm getting into a new routine with that and with the kids being at school, and trying to kind of balance my responsibilities as a mum, but also having more time for you, basically. I didn't get to record yesterday. I want Mondays to try and be one of my recording days, and I ended up in a rabbit hole of trying to learn how Twitch works, so that when I can upgrade StreamYard, I can also stream to Twitch, because there are some people that prefer Twitch or prefer YouTube. There's not a lot of people that I know that switch easily between the two, and I would like to reach as many people as possible. The aim with this whole channel and the podcast and everything else is to reach out to people and let them know they're not alone. You are not alone. We all go through bad times. We all need help. We all need a little bit of coaching or accountability. And I want to offer that to you. I want to be part of your lives. Sorry, just checking other tabs. But I got through Monday. I definitely got through Monday. Today is a pretty good day. Small wins. I had some self-care time. I had a shower and got dressed. I had time to put makeup on. I feel all professional podcaster. Yeah, see, just proving myself wrong there. Like most adults, I think I'm getting my stuff together, and then, I fall over or something, and you realize that actually I don't have my stuff together at all. And again, I'm not alone. This isn't, unique to me at all. I'm looking down to keep an eye on the chat to see if anyone's joining us. Otherwise, it's just going to be me talking to myself, which isn't unusual. Um, but also, it's how streams start. This is exactly how I started with my regular streams and with my videos. Not everyone can make it to every time slot. Um, so, um, looks like YouTube has caught up with the shenanigans from just 10 days ago or so. I did a live and I had a bunch of subscribers, which pushed us over 100 subscribers, but a lot of those were alternate accounts or fake accounts. So between them unsubscribing and YouTube catching up and the algorithm doing its job, I unfortunately lost 7 subscribers. So we're now at 96. For those of you who don't know, I will be doing a giveaway at 100 subscribers. And I will be giving away Signor Fluffy Butt, who is a very cute little needle felted dog. I don't know if you can see his ears properly, that I made. I like handmade gifts. And as a small channel with a very tiny, if not completely missing running budget, I like to give things away that I've made that means something. So at 100 subscribers, that's what we're going to do, regardless of when that happens. So if that happens, for instance, on a Tuesday with Talko Tuesday, the following stream on the Friday, we'll be doing a giveaway. Friday is the big night for viewers. So we'll do it on a Friday and it will be a random giveaway with anyone in the chat who wants to enter, basically. No purchase necessary, just turn up for that. You can see some of my other work on my Ko-fi page. The link for that is in the description, and I will link all of my links a little bit later. I don't want to bombard you. I don't want to be one of those YouTubers that constantly begs for your support or constantly begs for the thumbs up or anything else like that, because it gets annoying, doesn't it? But you can just have a nose around at some of the other things that I've made. I'm a big fan of creativity for mental health. It has made the world of difference to me in terms of being able to be present. Now, I don't want anyone to think that that's what's the word? That I'm talking about mindfulness, because mindfulness in itself comes with a whole lot of baggage, but it's more about doing something with my hands so that it calms the noisy thinking that goes on with PTSD, depression, anxiety. So I like doing things with my hands. So I make things like Signor Fluffy Butt. I don't think I've got any other examples of things like crochet and knitting, and I've made excuse me, I've made things like costume, um, uh, socks, all sorts of things, because it really does calm me down. And it doesn't have to be good. I don't want anyone to think that it needs to be good. If you get that calming effect, the slowing of the breathing and the good happy chemicals, then that's what it's all about. So things like adult coloring is really good. Again, you don't have to be good at anything. You don't have to choose colors based on, the finished project. It's about choosing the color that speaks to you at any given time. Miniature painting. If you're a tabletop person, if you do things like Warhammer or bolt action or anything else like that, putting together and painting those miniatures can be incredibly good for you, and it allows you to be creative. A lot of the time we lock away our inner child. And actually, our inner 5-year-old has all of the creativity, all of the inspiration, all of the ideas without being hampered by the pressure of society and what it means to be an adult. And sometimes we have to unleash that. So that's the giveaway. If you're interested in that, then get involved when we do the live stream. Sadly, at the moment, I'm all on my own. I'm talking to myself, which, I'm used to. Have you had self-care over the weekend? Um, with, any days off, are you taking time for yourself? Are you getting that time to really relax your body? Because that's super important. Sorry, I am just checking. I had a notification. Are you getting a time for a bubble bath, or put makeup on, or put your feet up, play on the Xbox or the PS5, or whatever it is that makes you relax and gives you a little bit of escapism. Stick some music on and sing your heart out, or have a dance. Something that is creative and really good for your soul. I really hope you are getting that time. I recently put together a playlist that has all sorts of songs. I've named it "Getting Back to Life," and it's songs that mean something from my past. I'm reclaiming some of them from, a song came out when I was with an ex, or when I was going through a difficult time in my life, and I'm reclaiming that. And listening to that playlist it's been really nostalgic, but also really therapeutic. And some of the songs on there, like I've added a bunch of Depeche Mode. I haven't listened to Depeche Mode in probably 10 plus years, maybe longer. And there's some really great memories associated with that, with a group of friends that I'm still in touch with, some of them, and Sunday D&D sessions, or Middle Earth roleplay, actually, MERP. And it's been really nice to get to that. Sorry, my lid is slightly askew. Don't want to cover myself in coffee because I am a professional podcaster. I also got some time yesterday to have a look at some conspiracy theories, things that hadn't really crossed my radar, like the Weasel timeline theory. That was a fun one to read up on. Now, I don't want anyone to think I'm a big conspiracy theorist. I find them fascinating from a human behavior point of view. The fact that we are willing to readily accept a fantastical option rather than the cold reality. Um, you know, we're broke because we've had, decades now of trickle down economics, which doesn't work. But there are some people that would rather accept that there is, a secret, deep state or secret entity that is actually controlling us, rather than some people are just greedy and did things to benefit themselves and their mates, and don't like the fact that that is slowly changing as it comes into everyday lives, and we realize that trickle down economics is what's screwed us for such a long time. But this idea that actually everything that's happened since 2016 is down to a weasel getting into the Large Hadron Collider into CERN and chewing through some of the wires, and it caused a slip, an interdimensional slip, and we're in a different timeline, and that's why the world is terrible. And I love this idea because it would solve everything, right? That's why everything's pants and the pandemic happened and everything else. But actually, it doesn't solve anything. It's handing the responsibility over to something just too big for us as individuals to change. Whereas if we accept that there are certain people in this world that do want power and have a greed for money, for control, for power, then that means that we have a responsibility to do something about it. It's it's easier to believe that this comes from outside, something completely outside of our control. But that was a fun conspiracy to read about. And I found myself kind of going, well, it would explain what's going on, because the world seems to have gone a little bit nuts since around 2016. And it's pure coincidence, isn't it? Someone left a door open by accident and a weasel got in. The extension of that is actually that the world ended in 2012 when everyone said the Mayan calendar said that the world would end. And everything that has happened since then is actually this an afterlife or the next phase in humanity, or actually the end of the world started in 2012, but it's taking its sweet time to actually get there. Whole rabbit hole. Fascinating. Really, really fascinating. Because it's the mindset. And there are those of us who do a deep dive to try and understand where this comes from. I've said it before on this channel. I did a really deep dive into flat Earth a couple of years back. 60 plus hours of watching YouTube videos and reading articles and watching documentaries and things like that, trying to understand this mindset. Where has this come from? Why do people now believe that? And is there anything to it? I like to understand what the logic is behind this theory. The problem is some conspiracy theories have absolutely no basis in logic. There is no way to really get to grips with how they've arrived at this conclusion. Whereas there are some where you do find yourself kind of going, could be, like the simulation conspiracy theory that we are all actually in a simulation. And there are items of evidence, like videos of people resetting or skipping back a couple of frames, like the world is buffered a little bit, and deja vu and all sorts of other things. And it's something that I really want to do a deep dive in, because from what I know about it, there's actually some weirdly compelling evidence. Now I've not found I've not gone deep into it. So what I like to do is look at varying points of view and varying variations on the theory to try and get some real understanding of it, so I can make an informed decision. And I've done that with the adrenochrome conspiracy theory that the Biden administration or people in Hollywood are kidnapping children, scaring them so that they can harvest adrenochrome. And I can't wrap my head around it because adrenochrome is already used in medications. There are synthetic versions that can be used rather than trafficking children for it. And adrenochrome doesn't really do what they're saying it does. We all produce adrenochrome, adults and children alike, at the same amounts, proportional to development and everything else. It would be better to harvest someone in their 20s than a child, in terms of body size. Um, it's very odd. It's a really, really weird conspiracy theory, and I cannot wrap my head around it. And you had people like Marky Mark and I think Denzel Washington, I think, and a few others saying next week we're going to come out with the definitive proof, and they haven't. There is no definitive proof. They've been seen out and about, but they're just not bringing that in. And I think if there was compelling evidence, make it public. Do a big press conference, make it public so that a huge number of people actually know about it, know about the evidence, and it can't be denied. This shadow government, this global consortium of the rich, the powerful, whoever, can't silence the odd individual that finds out about it. But yeah, very odd. Very, very odd. Also, the idea that Jamie Foxx was cloned, and that's why he disappeared rather than, the ill health. It's I think we are surrounded by very public conspiracy theories. And there have always been conspiracy theories for as long as we have had societies. We call ourselves civilized and advanced, and really we're not. But with the age of the internet, with social media the way it is, the way you can, like I am here, broadcast to a potential audience of, 2 billion users, and talk about these things, they become more advanced, they spread faster. And if someone goes looking on the internet, there are websites and other things that look legitimate. They look like you can trust them. And actually, all anyone's doing is furthering their own interests. I'm not going to lie. I would like to be monetized. I'd like to make a living out of this. At the very least, I'd like to be able to pay the bills that the channel costs me. But some of these entities are looking to fundraise in the scale of thousands or hundreds of thousands, and are grifting unsuspecting people, because they're preying on fear. These are people that are disenfranchised, they're vulnerable, or they are looking for the big answers. And I want to make it clear that intelligence has nothing to do with this. There are some very intelligent people out there that have fallen down one of these many rabbit holes. You look at Denzel Washington and people like that, and you think, you're a pretty smart guy. We know that from how he holds himself in interviews and how he answers difficult questions. How earnest he is in those interviews, and the vocabulary he uses. So intelligence isn't really a factor in these things. I've seen a few people recently on social media, talking about QAnon and the MAGA movement, saying that, these are uneducated people. I'm sure there are some people that didn't finish high school or college or university or wherever. Not all of us did. But there are also incredibly rich and powerful people that genuinely believe this stuff. Um, Elon Musk or whoever. So I don't think intelligence is about that. Um, it's it's a lot of fun to research, but it does make your brain hurt just a little bit. And that's how I that's how I spent Monday. Um, we have someone watching. Hello, thank you for being here. If you're comfortable, say hi in the chat. Let me know who you are and where you're from. Thank you so much for joining me. I've been talking to myself for 25 minutes, which has been a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. I've been able to talk about all sorts of things. What is on your mind today? How was your Monday and how is your Tuesday going? Um, I was saying that my Tuesday has been pretty good so far. I've had a bit of a self-care day and I'm spending time with you. So I can't really complain. I also have a cup of coffee. Yeah, doing okay. If you are new to the channel, just so that you know, my name is Andy. This is Craftalytical. I have a Craftalytical podcast, and then we have Talko Tuesdays. I'm also live on a Friday for a slightly more directed chat. It's a bit more formal. I also release other videos, all based on mental health and social psychology to help us understand ourselves and the world around us. Oh, Ramius. Hello. I was thinking about you the other day. I hope you're okay. You've missed the last 2 Fridays because you had to be out of town those days. Again, this coming Friday, still trying to wait. Yeah, it's really early for you, isn't it? It's what, 6:30, I think. I hope you've had fun going out of town. I really do hope you've had fun and you're having fun again this Friday. Don't worry about trying to wake up. It's very early. Get yourself a drink, take a few deep breaths, and just be for a little while. Just that's okay. How was your Monday? And how are you doing in general? I have missed your company. I've missed you being around in the chat. Not that you owe me anything. I don't want you to think that I am demanding that you give your Fridays over to me. That's not what I'm saying. Just I care about the community, and when I don't see a name pop up in chat, I do kind of go, oh, I hope they're okay. Because I'm a sucker, really. I have a lot of love to give. And I want this community to be kind of chosen family for people. I want people to be safe and free and able to share, able to ask for help and solidarity, ask questions, and give and receive that as well. Sorry, I'm just checking my other tabs. It's really weird. Usually there's a few people around this time in the morning because everyone's getting up to start their day. My US friends are getting up to, like you, Ramius, trying desperately to wake up and get ready for work or whatever their day has planned. That's why I chose this time. It's also lunchtime here in the UK. So it's all a bit quiet, which isn't a bad thing. I hope people are getting good sleep. I really do. I'm sorry about the mess behind me. I meant to move all of that. I keep meaning to move it every time I stream or do a video, and every time I forget. It's all needle felting stuff. I have pigs are my favorite animals, and I've managed to get some pig related needle felting, and I'm very excited about it. In my entire life, no matter who knows, I like pigs. My ideal pet would be a teacup pig. Um, and in my entire life, no one has ever bought me a pig-related something, which is really weird. Not fun. Sorry, let's bring this up on the screen. Not fun, really. Donna is a teacher and has training on various subjects, and she likes me driving 25 miles to stay the night and spend a little time just talking and eating dinner. Oh, is this on Fridays? Um, yeah, the fuel expense in doing that. I mean, it's really nice that she wants to spend time with you, and have that bonding time, and that mutual support. That is really, really lovely. But the fuel expense is wild. Um, I know the cost of fuel is coming down. It's definitely cheaper in the States than it is here by a long way. But it still adds up, doesn't it? Especially when you're retired, um, or on a low income. We're really lucky that our commutes locally, we don't generally go more than about 5 mile radius from the house. We're really rural. And the other half has his forge 7 minutes away from here. The school is 7 to 10 minutes away from here for the kids. So we don't have to do that, but we still really feel it at the pumps. Um, I would like our government to take a leaf out of President Biden's book, and start implementing Bidenomics so that in a few months' time, 6 months' time or so, we start to see that economic growth and start, feeling it in the wallet, really. Has it been nice spending time with Donna, though? Have you enjoyed having that bonding time? Because I know you go through periods of not being able to see each other very much, depending on how busy you both are. Um, you know, has it been good for the soul, I think, is what I'm asking. Because spending time with someone who just wants to be with you because of you can be really good for you. Um, it's recharging, in some ways, isn't it? After each one-day training on Saturdays, she comes home with another Raspberry Pi computer and books. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Is that resources? Is she collecting these resources for her classroom? Are you going to repurpose them and make something? Because I know how creative you are and how creative you want to be. But that's really cool, and good for her for going for extra training. Um, I am a big advocate in consistent, constant education. Um, you don't have to be book smart to get that either these days. You know, I find it really difficult to sit down and read a textbook, but I can listen to someone, I can learn from someone. Ooh. 3 so far. They teach Python, cybercrime, etc. That is very, very cool. That is very, very cool. That's awesome. I love that. I really do. I think these things are really important, especially these days. I mean, criminals are getting more and more sophisticated, with their cybercrime, being able to clone bank cards and and that kind of thing. I think we all need a bit of education on how to avoid it, how it happens, how to avoid it, because it's not all, scams. Um, the text message from, UPS, FedEx, Royal Mail, whoever the delivery company is, that says, we've got a parcel for you, but you've got to pay X amount in postage, you know, contact or go to this website. Those aren't very sophisticated. They still make a lot of money from it. But it's the people. I had it years ago where someone managed to buy a £500 pair of shoes from China, I think it was. Um, and I had to fight with my bank to get that money back. Even though, I mean, you can tell from my spending, I don't buy shoes. I'm not a shoe person. Um, and, having to fight that to get that back. No idea how they got my bank details. No idea how they got the transaction to go through. Um, but, these things are really sophisticated. Um, and it's frightening. It's frightening how much money they make. And it's also frightening that people are willing to do it. Um, I mean, you have even whole call centers of people making these phone calls, being on the other end of those text messages and everything else. And, I don't understand how that psychology works, how that human, and how you get to a point where you're willing to scam people who don't deserve it, who have worked hard for their money, or are elderly or poor, vulnerable people. Um, I just yeah. I couldn't imagine. Now, I know occasionally I say, "Look, if you wanna give a donation, you wanna tip me for my work or, whatever else, here's how you support me." I don't expect it. And that it's a free choice. I'm giving people the option if they want to. Um, but I don't know how, like, I could never imagine myself grifting in the way you see some politicians do it, or, um, you know, using taxpayer money for my own purposes, or setting up a scam like that and scamming people out of their money. I try hard to work for it. I try to bring value, um, or fun. Although I don't bring the funny, you all bring the funny. Um, I try to earn it, um, from people who can afford it and want to. Um, but yeah, I just blows my mind. And I do struggle sometimes mentally with this idea that there are so many people out there who act in a way that I cannot imagine. Um, and it seems really prevalent, but I think that's more because it's all online. It's all text messages and phone calls and online scams. Um, uh, whereas before it was, what looked like I know some elderly people received a letter through the door, looked like it was a charity collecting money. They put a check in, and you know, they took the bank details from that and scammed, or stole a bunch of money. Um, or, people phoning, when we all had landlines, phoning elderly people and saying, you know, there's a problem with your bank. You need to, confirm your identity by giving us, these details. Um, and these days there are so many different ways to get scammed. Um, it's it's awful, and I think we all need more education on it. I really do. So what do you have planned for today, Ramius? other than taking a moment to wake up. Some big conversations. Um, yeah. We have someone else watching. Hi, thank you very much for joining us. I do appreciate you being here. I know it's an odd time of the day, um, but we're trying something different. This is all about you. So, what's on your mind? How was your Monday? Congratulations for getting through it. How does Tuesday look for you? Um, she was thinking of retiring after this school year and start getting social security and retirement plus do tutoring and whatever else. She has more energy than me, walks 5 miles a day. Oh, you, yeah, walking. I have days where my walk to the bathroom is my exercise, and I really should do more about that. I don't blame her for thinking about retiring. It is really hard to be a teacher. They aren't paid enough for what they do. They really, really aren't. But she has these amazing income streams. The idea of, tutoring and mentoring, uh, and, you know, with all of this extra training and stuff like that, I'm sure. Um, Sorry, I was reading reading your next chat. I'm sure she has an awful lot of little avenues where she can supplement her income, which is amazing. You're going to mow the yard in the town you moved from, and that's about it. Please take care of yourself. Hydrate. Don't overdo it. But enjoy the process of being. I love stuff like that because you can see it's an instant progress. And sometimes we need that constant, I'm winning this battle for our mental health and our well-being. But things like mowing the lawn and, weeding can actually be really therapeutic. My sister-in-law loves weeding. I am not a gardening person. I want to be. I really do, but I am not good with plants. I am teaching myself with I've got some succulents which so far haven't died. Um uh, because they're pretty hard to kill. I'm also growing avocado trees from the seed. But that's about it. My terrarium was a bust, by the way. Weeds took over and killed everything I put in there. But mowing that yard, I don't know how big it is or how difficult it is, what the terrain is like, but being able to, you do a strip and look at it and you can see that progress, that instant progress. So I hope you enjoy that and it's therapeutic for you. You deserve that downtime after all of that driving. I find driving really difficult these days. It's just painful and exhausting for me. Um, so yeah, you deserve a bit of downtime. Um, oh, that's excellent. So the forecast is cooler. I'm so relieved because it was getting really hot for you. And you're getting closer to your garage slash lab being moved here. Yay! Back to being creative and doing things for the joy of doing things. And I love that. Keep us updated on that. I really hope that you can make that happen. Because I know how much you've missed it. Um, but that's really cool. How long do you think it's going to be before you get your garage slash lab? I love that it's a lab. I've got images of mad scientist, beakers bubbling away in the background and you tinkering with electronics. But how long do you think that's going to be? Because I know that's been a work in progress for a while for you. Sorry, just double checking that everything's working properly. We've I know a few streamers that have had issues with the chat recently, so I'm trying to keep on top of it to make sure that I haven't missed anything that's going on. Um, yeah, chat taking kind of stopping and then suddenly catching up, or some comments um, not showing up. So I like to try and keep on top of it. Um, I can't do squat with all my stuff piled here waiting to use. Oh, before winter, that's really great. That's really good. I don't know how cold it gets in your area. I think you get snow. From what I remember, my US geography is a work in progress. It's yeah. I find it really difficult to work out where everything is. It's just the country is so vast. It is so big. But I'm pretty sure you get snow. So hopefully the lab is insulated or easy to warm up for you. Because there's nothing worse than trying to be creative while you're cramped up with the cold. And I know you've been collecting bits and pieces that you found in various markets and, you know, yard sales and stuff like that. So you must be running out of room. Um, snow is almost skipped, has been almost skipped for the last several years, but they say it may be bad this time. No insulation or wiring. Yes, yes. Yeah, this year, because we've been predicted a longer winter. We had a mini heat wave. It was the hottest, um, days of the was it the hottest days of the year? I think it was, but also the hottest days ever recorded in, no, the longest period of hot days in September last week, and now it does look like winter outside. It's your stereotypical English weather. It's raining and it's chilly and windy. But we've been predicted a long and colder winter this year. And last year was bad enough. That was 10 minus 10. No, yeah, minus 10 where we were in centigrade. So yeah, I cannot imagine how cold it gets for you. But yes, please sort out insulation and wiring so you can plug in a heater. I don't want you to freeze. Um, uh, I have a ton of bits and pieces. It's really hard when you're a creative type. It's really hard to pass up a really good deal because sometimes these things can get really expensive when we make stuff. I really struggle with that because um, yarn and supplies can be really expensive for what I do. So when you see something on offer, it's like, oh, I can't say no. I can't say no. Uh, I figure while I'm sitting there shaking in the cold, I could hold a magnet near a coil of wire and make electricity. It would work, but not be useful. Yeah, I don't know that that's gonna give you enough amps to actually run anything, but I love the idea. I love the idea. I have images of you recreating the famous Tesla, um, photo where he's sat underneath the electricity flying between the 2 conductors, um, like, with your hair stood on end. That's amazing. Yeah, you might be able to get a flicker out of a light bulb. I think you'd be better off chaining up a whole host of potatoes and running something off that. That's not an experiment we do here, by the way. And I'd love to. I would love to, because I think it just looks fun. I love science. But yeah, running, a light bulb off of a bunch of potatoes or lemons. Isn't lemons another one? I'm sure it's lemons. I might be making that up. I know you can do it with potatoes. I don't know whether chat has frozen again. It's not helpful, YouTube. Please sort this out. It's wild to me that there are still these kinds of problems occasionally. I mean, don't get me wrong, technology fails, doesn't it? But just refresh some stuff. So is there anything on your mind today? Is there anything that you would like to get support with or celebrate? Because today, Talko Tuesday is all about you. All about you. And if you like this, if you like the idea of doing this regularly on a Tuesday, can you hit the like button for me? It's not ego. It's just a great way of gauging if this is something people want. Because I don't want to waste your time with content that isn't valuable to you. But and the like button doesn't do anything for the YouTube algorithm. It's just a really great way of me knowing if this is valuable. Love Nikola Tesla. That picture was a double exposure or he would have died. I know. But I think of Nikola Tesla as I don't know, like this grand magician. He was able to create things that were far beyond the thinking of the time. And it is really sad to me that his invention to give the world free electricity was thwarted by greedy utility company owners. The world would have been a very different place if everyone could have had free electricity at that time. I think we would be far more advanced and far more unified as a global economy. And I think poverty would have been lessened. But he was an amazing man. I mean, a little bit batty, but I think all true geniuses are a little bit eccentric. Yeah. I've never met a true genius that isn't. And I've been privileged to know a few. But yeah, Nikola Tesla's life is really interesting. You have copies of the blueprints he made to try and make sense of some of it. I don't even know where I would start with that. I am nowhere near smart enough to work that stuff out. Motivation is my biggest problem each day, really. Yeah. Motivation can be it's a cyclical thing. You lose motivation for something, so you then ignore it, you escape from it, you feel guilty about it, you then try and do something about it, but you can't bring yourself to that motivation. I see you. I really, really do. And I think sometimes you just have to push a little bit. It's not about going straight into doing it all. That's setting yourself up with an unrealistic expectation, and you're more likely to kind of fall off the wagon a little bit. But set yourself small achievable goals. Today I aim to, and then add to it. Have that amazing end goal in mind. Aim for that, but give yourself little wins. We all need that dopamine hit when we achieve, when we succeed at something. So having those small goals really makes a difference. So in preparation for your lab arriving, start going through your stock of stuff. Kind of, I'm going to do this box today. I'm going to inventory it. I'm going to write a list of what's in there, and I'm going to work out what I'm going to do with all of this stuff. Or take the boxes and rearrange them so that you've got a project in a box and write on it. Get organized so that when the lab arrives, you know where everything is and you are ready to go. There is nothing that's going to get in your way then, other than, outside influences, of getting the lab ready with the installation and the why. You've got the boxes, you know what is what and where everything is. And then once the lab is sorted and it's got electricity and it's got insulation and it's ready to go, you can then bring all of that stuff in and get it organized straight away. Because when we're not organized, that can be a block to our motivation as well. If we're looking at a big stack of, mess, then it's hard to pluck up the motivation. But, your lab is going to be there. I know that you have been really looking forward to getting your lab back. Because I do not have my stuff laid out in some order, I have to jump through many hoops to do a simple thing, like finding parts in all of the boxes, tools to make a whole of the proper size. And that can absolutely sap your motivation, because to do a job, you've got to do all of these other jobs. And it's not a straightforward, I'm going to do this today. Well, actually, I've got to go through 40 boxes to find the right tools, the right equipment, the right setup, all of the parts, whatever it might be. So I get it. I really do. I have the attic part full, garage part full, lots of stuff to do to obtain the lab as I want. Yeah. Shelves everywhere. Lots of storage. Yeah, I mean, when and when things aren't all in one place as well. That's the other thing, because if you're going from the attic to the garage to, somewhere else, Ramia says 40 boxes. I wish more like 75. And this is the problem. Organizing sets you up for success. And we all know that. If we're organized, we're not fighting against mess or uncertainty of where things are. And we're not procrastinating because we know where things are. Everything's, labeled or put in place or whatever else. And a tidy workshop is a productive workshop. So I get it. I really do. But set yourself a goal. Set yourself a goal. Today, I'm going to go through one box in the attic. One box. And I'm going to, anything that I know needs to be in the shed or wherever, I'm going to put it in there. Or 3 boxes. I'm going to go through 3 boxes. I'm going to take everything out of each box, and I'm going to have one for tools, one for wires, one for parts. or whatever is appropriate. I'm going to do these 3 boxes. And then you've then got the boxes for the next 3 to then go, okay, well, these are small wires out of the second 3. These are small parts. These are small tools. And you're slowly achieving that goal. You know, you can go to bed at night or sit down to dinner and kind of go, yeah, I did my 3 boxes. And it's refreshing. It can be really refreshing if we set ourselves those easy, achievable goals. And I'm not saying that you have to do 3. Work out for yourself, what's the end goal? When do you want to have this organized for? And work back. How many boxes a day do I need to do? What do I need? Do I need to replace some of those boxes? Do I need new storage options? If you've got the boxes in the attic, and you can set up some kind of shelving or some kind of organizational system, you can then go, right, these 3 boxes are done. I'm going to put this box here because that makes sense. I'm going to put this box here. So it's laid out. But you can do it. You can absolutely do it. But sometimes we get in our own heads. And this is definitely what's going on, I think, with you. It's, you've been waiting so long for your lab. And you've been waiting so long to get back to creativity that now you've got a time scale in mind. It's now really overwhelming, isn't it? It probably would have been overwhelming before, but with all of the bargains you've picked up from garage sales and yard sales and things like that, it's probably more overwhelming now. And also, I think this situation feels like it's gone on for so long, doesn't it? It's one of those things where you think, in the back of your head, you don't think it's ever actually gonna come to be. You wrote content list for each box. Good, that's excellent. Until I have the garage ready. I have no place to put things from the boxes. Yes, had garage 2 years, sat there as temporary storage. I get it. I get it. I really do. I try not to go to yard sales anymore. I see something, I want to drag it home. Low impulse control. But that's how a creative brain works. A creative brain looks at something, goes, oh, I can make this. And we get excited about that idea. And it's really hard to say no. And also it's really hard not to put down a current project and start on the new shiny projects. We can't be trusted. We can't be trusted. I see you. I am you. I get it. I really do. You're not alone. You are genuinely not alone. Sorry, I am just occasionally just checking that everything is running smoothly in the background. Yeah, I mean, I don't go to yarn shops and stuff like that because I do want to. I want to give everything a home. I also can't afford it. Yeah, I see objects at yard sales and think right away how I can use it in a different way. Yeah, because you have a creative engineering based brain. And it is really hard once that creativity gets fizzing. It is really hard to kind of put that aside and think of anything else. No, I need to concentrate on this task, and your brain is going, ooh, we could add this, we could do this, we could make it look like this. I get it. I really, really do. I have some yarn, and originally I was going to make a blanket with it, and I got most of the way through the blanket. I was like, I don't really like this. Don't like this at all. And then I tried a different blanket, and I just the brain kept fizzing with ideas. And actually, I'm turning it into a rug for our living room now. So creative brain. It's really hard to organize a creative brain from my experience. Um, it's terrible, isn't it? See, this is why we need someone to go with us. Like someone who can act as our common sense for a little while. Just help us out. Treat us like a 5-year-old in a toy store. Just do that and we'll be fine. You have a spending limit, or no, you can't have. That would be great. Yarn. I could make a Van de Graaff generator from it. See, this is just it. You know, I look at yarn or fleece or, any number of other things. And my brain just goes, oh, you could make this. And it starts coming up with a pattern or the process to get there. And I am powerless. I'm powerless to stop it because my brain won't let go of it. And the problem is for these types of hobbies, really, you need a lot of money. You need to not be poor. You can absolutely do these things on a budget, but it takes longer. And I'm impatient, Ramius. I don't know about you, but I am really impatient. When I get an idea, I want to charge full steam ahead. I have an amazing friend who I adore, who can buy more or less whatever she wants when it comes to her hobbies. And I love her. I really, really do. And I love the fact that she lets me into her little creative world of what she's doing, and what yarn she's got, or thread for weaving, or fleece and roving for spinning. But also, I kind of I'm like, oh, I want a craft room like that. I want a weaving table, and I want, a loom or a weaving, like you can get table looms. And my brain got confused with words there. I'd love to do some spinning. When I was a kid, my mum got a spinning wheel and a drop spindle, and she taught me how to spin and got me to do all of the spinning. And I wasn't very good at it, and I hated it because I was being forced to do it. And it's so ironic that now I'm a fiber artist. That's my chosen medium. But I would love to do some spinning. Cannot afford a spinning wheel, cannot afford a drop spindle or the roving. Again, it's quite an expensive thing to do. But I love the idea of starting from the very beginning of the process and working all the way through. So spinning my own yarn, using it for something, you know, maybe even dyeing it and then using it, and I love that idea, the whole process of this heritage craft. And I'm the same with, I do an awful lot of different fiber arts, needle felting, knitting, crochet, knot binding, um, all sorts of stuff. And it gets expensive. Because I want to challenge myself. That's the other thing. I really want to challenge myself with the next big project, hence the rug. I have slowly collected instruments for many years, winning the $2,200 oscilloscope was a cool addition. I just need to use it properly. I don't want to fry it. What's an oscilloscope? Teach me. I feel like I should know, but congratulations on winning it. Like my brain instantly went to the theremin, but I know that's not what it is, or at least I don't think that's what it is. I feel like I should know. I love music. I'm not talented. I used to play the guitar, and I'm more fingers and thumbs, which I know is meant to be useful for playing the guitar, but I'm not good. I'm not good. I'm far better with my left hand than my right. Um, so I can get the chords, but I cannot get the rhythm. Um, but I'd love to be more musically talented. I can I can sing. I'm not saying I'm a megastar or anything. It's just that I can hold a tune, and I really enjoy doing that. But yeah, I'm not great at everything else. But yeah, please teach me about this musical instrument because I find that fascinating. Um, sorry, just checking, making sure I'm not missing anything. Um, oh, not a musical instrument. Sorry. Um, absolute brain fart there. I'm really sorry, Ramius. I am a professional. I know what I'm doing. They use them in hospitals to watch heartbeat, electronics to see a voltage over time. Yes, I do know what it is. To see how stable, etc. Um, yeah, I have seen them. I've been hooked up to them. Never mind. But I now know the proper names, so I have learnt something today, and that makes me very, very happy. Um, but that's really cool. Yeah, the prospect of accidentally cooking it is pretty real, isn't it? Because it's not something that is easily replaced or something that is cheap to replace is the other thing. Um, yeah. The kind of thing that once you get it, you're too scared to touch it. Can't believe I thought musical instrument. I do know. Honestly, I know what I'm doing, or at least I know what I should be doing. Just, what an umpty. So funny. So funny. Oh dear. Excuse me. That was a weird little gurgle. I don't know whether that came over the microphone. I certainly heard it. Um, oh, we've had someone else join us. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. I forget how far ahead of us Australia is. Um, so yes, hello. How are you? How was your Monday? Congratulations on getting through Monday. Come join in the chat. Tell me who you are and where you're tuning in from. This is Craftalytical's Talko Tuesday, and it is all about you. It's all about us sharing and talking through some things. So if you've had a small win, if you are celebrating something or you want someone to celebrate with, do share it in the chat if you're comfortable to. Share with us, if you need commiserations, if you need solidarity, if you need to vent, we are here for that. We are here to lift you up. That is what Talko Tuesday is all about. But I do appreciate you being here. And if you've not caught any of my work before, my name is Andy and I'm your host. Um, so, sorry. I've really discovered that I am not good at reading or doing stuff with the laptop while I'm trying to talk to you. I am just terrible. Not very good at this. I do kind of know what I'm doing. I try. Um, ooh, okay. So Ramia says the scope can read up to 2 billion samples a second. Wow. That is enough. On a note of me lately, my sister may be moving back near me. Oh, that's awesome. That is really great. I am keeping my fingers crossed for that happening. That is really good news. Thank you for sharing. That is brilliant. Keep us updated. I am cheering that on because it is so nice to be closer. Excuse me. It's so nice to be just that little bit closer to the people that mean the world to you. Um, and I'm really excited about that. I'm invested now, Ramius. You have to keep me updated with that and your lab. I'm going to pop some links in the chat, which reminds me, actually, I need to make sure that I've ticked some boxes. I'm pretty sure I did. Um, I'm hoping that the closed captions are working. Oh, I did tick the box. That's good. Sorry. There's a box that you have to tick to keep the live chat on replay. And I had problems with it on Friday's stream. So I just want to make sure that that is working so that people who are on replay, who I adore just as much as the people who are able to make it live, are able to make it, able to join in. There is my link tree. And stream elements for tips if you want to help support and you can afford to. So having her closer, her and I connect about life more than anybody else in the family. So having her closer is going to mean the world to you both, and that is awesome. I seriously, fingers crossed, sending positivity and love into the universe so that that happens. Good morning, Loopy Miracle and Zayden. Thank you very much for being here. It's just us. I rolled over enough to turn on your channel on in the background. Terrific, tremendous testimonial Tuesday. You are incredibly chipper for first thing in the morning. I really hope the weather has cooled down for you and you're feeling good. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble and joining in our conversation with Ramius. We looked at an A-frame house yesterday. Woods Creek, love the place. That is amazing. Like, it's a proper old-fashioned kind of rural little house on the prairie, kind of not really that shape, but you know what I mean. Oh, that sounds glorious. That really does sound glorious, and I'm a little bit jealous. Yeah, I really hope that this comes through for you. I really, really do. Because I know how much she means to you, and I know that you've felt lonely without that familial bond being closer. You know, I know you find it difficult with Donna being away and you know, not seeing your sister very often. So that is awesome. That is awesome. I love the idea of having a little creek nearby as well. Like there's I don't know, there's something quintessentially kind of American about that kind of almost cabin. You know, maybe I'm romanticizing it, but I love that idea. I really do. In the back of my head, I would love, like, a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Not Alaska cold, but, you know, even if it was in Europe, like in Austria or somewhere like that, um, just with that view and that stillness. Um, I mean, actually living in one is probably very different. But yeah, I like the idea. I do. Um, your first thought when you saw the creek was water wheel generation. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Can't not think of that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, that simpler times. I think at the moment we're kind of craving that as well. Um, you know, life is far too complicated and the world is a bit of a mess. So being able to be a little bit nostalgic for even a time that we weren't alive in, kind of churning your own butter and, getting fresh water from the creek, is just it's- it feels like a simpler, nicer way to live. Um, yes, I would prefer country over town, but it's pretty peaceful where I am. Yeah, I mean, you're not kind of the hubbub of a major city, are you? But you are close enough to be able to get your supplies and that kind of thing. I mean, I love being in the country. I really do. It's pretty rural. We're right next to a town. I mean, you all wouldn't call it a town. Um, it's the actual town centre is tiny. It's slightly bigger than what we would call a village, but it's definitely not a city. Um, and it's a walkable distance, and there's loads of parking and stuff. But really, all around us is just fields, and I love that. I love that. If we have to go on a long journey, or we're going down south to see my brother and sister-in-law, you have to go basically 40 minutes through villages and smaller roads before you hit the motorway. Um, it's a third of the journey is through small towns, small villages, and those are villages, 20 houses, and you're out the other side. And I love that. I love that way of life. I've lived in big cities. I lived just outside of London, um, on several occasions, and it's just grey. It's dull, um, and it leaves me pretty tense. Um, you think your population there is about 2,000 cornfields and soybeans, flat as a pancake in Illinois. See, what you've just described is the stereotypical image that I get when I think of Illinois. Um, you know, uh, Kind of the same with Iowa and maybe Kansas. Like, it's corn and soy. Um, the population of the town is 2,000, which is tiny compared to most places. I mean, the population here within our district, I guess, our what's the word? Uh, uh, Within the town limits, is about 22 or 26,000. But actually, it's really spread out because it is rural here. It's quite spread out. It's a large area for that population. Um, and the reason it's essentially districted this way is because all of our areas have to have all of our voting districts have to have a minimum of a certain amount of people, I think. Um, so rural areas are larger. Loopy Miracle says, "Good morning, 55 Ramius. He's kept me company pretty much for the last hour. It's been nice. It's been nice having a catch up. Um, Loopy says, we seem to be overpopulating, running out of places to build. Yet there's a perception of that, isn't there? There really is. Here in the UK, we've actually only used kind of 10% of our land mass as housing. Now, that there is a big percentage of that that can't be used because of the terrain and everything else. But some areas just feel really built up and overpopulated. And then other places that there's just no one there. No one there. Um, but yeah, I can imagine also in places like kind of where you are in Florida, you're really close to kind of hubs of whether that's a big city or a big employment zone. I would imagine that can feel pretty built up. um Ramia says, good morning, Loopy. um yeah, I mean, I don't understand how people love being in the city. I know some people really thrive in built up areas, in bustling metropolises. I just, yeah, country girl at heart. I really am. Growing up, we never lived um, in a town bigger than this, bigger than where I am at the moment. Um, And in fact, most of the time, whether we were in England, Germany, Hong Kong, wherever, it was, I mean, military military housing. So it was a small amount of people that worked at each barracks. But also we had views. We could see rolling hills and kind of open spaces in all of those places. And I think city life, I never got the training to accept that kind of hustle and bustle. Although having said that, I went from just outside of London down to Devon, which is the southwest of the country, and it's a completely different pace of life down there. It's everything happens on Devon time. Um, there's a joke or a kind of cliche down there that there's 3 queues at the post office. There's one for the post office itself, there's one for the little shop that's usually attached to the post office, and then there's a third one, which is just people talking. Everything happens on Devon time. It's a very different pace of life. Very, very different. I loved it. I loved being down there. I loved the area and the kind of the people that I met and made friends with. Was just an easier going way of life. Um, Loopy says, yes, when you have a few sports teams. Oh yeah, especially in when 2020 pushed so many more people down here from places like New York and California. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine, because a lot of the sports, I mean, you all do sports in a very different way, but all of the stadiums are huge. So when you get an influx of people to an area for games or seasons, um, and you know the migration that happened during the pandemic, where people were working from home and could live wherever they wanted to, um, is pretty. Yeah, I can imagine that kind of, yeah, overbuilt, overcrowded kind of feeling. Not for me. Not for me. Years ago, some friends of mine came over. They live in Texas, and they did a bit of a European tour for a holiday. And they came to England. We met in London, and we did some of the sites. And I drove them down to Stonehenge. And normally it was Stonehenge, and we went to the Roman baths in Bath. So we went all the way down to Bath in the southwest, and we then did Stonehenge on the way back, and we did it all in one day, and it's a long old drive. But they were sat in the car kind of going, "How do you drive on these tiny roads? How do you deal with all of these really wee roundabouts?" So I think if you came over to the UK, any of you, I think you'd be quite surprised at the differences. Yeah, also close to the beaches, so big tourist um, destination. Um, Ramius says, I prefer to be in the middle of the country, no quakes, no hurricanes, but we do get tornadoes once in a while. Been to Naples, Florida once a few years back, long drive. Yeah, I can imagine that being a long old way from Illinois. Yeah, I mean, you will get some wild weather over there. See hurricanes down the bottom and then tornadoes across the top. No one is safe from the weather. Um, I've never been in an earthquake. Not even the small ripples that we get here in the UK. I've never experienced it, and I cannot imagine how terrifying that would be. Um, I have lived through a pretty vicious typhoon or two, but again, hurricanes are a different beast. Um, and I've never been near a tornado. All of these things are so far out of my frame of reference, and they're just terrifying. They are terrifying. Um, but yeah, I mean, you are. But by the time the bad weather hits that central area, it's slowed down because of all of the landmass. Um, but yeah, I cannot imagine what it's like to live in Florida or California or Texas gets some pretty awful weather as well. Tennessee, um, uh, where else? Kind of, that bottom section. It must be terrifying to live constantly under that threat that it's going to happen. And maybe Loopy and Zayden can speak to this, or you can speak about this, Ramius, as well. When it comes to tornadoes, and how do you prepare for that? How do you live knowing that it could happen at any time? How do you cope with that? Because scares me silly, the idea. And whenever I see a hurricane or tornado or earthquake happen, I um I go into panic mode for the people I care about that are over there. You and my friends in Texas, and I just um Loopy Miracle at Ramius 55 Ramius. I've visited Naples a couple of times, some 20 plus years ago. Got to skydive in Sarasota. That's amazing. What an experience. 55 Ramius, you want a house with a basement. Yes. I can imagine that being, priority number one. I would love a basement. I would love a cellar. Not because, we need it for protection from weather, but just because I like the idea of having one. Loopy Miracle, it feels like a few more tunnel clouds are being spotted more recently. Yeah, there is definitely something to that. There is definitely. I absolutely agree. And I know you and Zayden have spoken about this before on your streams, that there are definitely more hurricanes. And there are more than a few a year that are really severe. And for people in Florida who are just getting over was it Ian? I can't remember. But the hurricane that happened earlier on in the year, people are still affected by that, still trying to rebuild, still trying to move forward and get things fixed. And then they're hit again by Ida, and they're hit again by the latest one. Yeah. And I imagine with basements where you are, that poses a greater risk of being flooded. I don't know. Um, 55 Ramius. Two of my neighbors do not have basements, so I told them if a tornado siren goes off, come in my house without calling first. Door will be unlocked. And that I think is an amazing thing. I mean, it's really sad that we celebrate that as being an amazing thing. But saying to people, look, let's shelter together. Safety in numbers, and let's look after each other. We can share resources is a beautiful thing, and thank you very much for doing that. But yeah, when there is a risk of being hit by a tornado and your house literally being destroyed from foundation up, um, definitely having somewhere you can go that is secure, is job number one, isn't it? But I love the fact that you've said to your neighbours, "Yep, come on over. Don't worry about it. Don't knock. Don't call. Just open the door. Come in. Come down to the basement with whatever your emergency supplies or whatever else." Um, yeah, and that's what it's all about. And it's really sad that we have to kind of talk about that as the exception. But there are a lot of people, especially in an emergency situation, that go into um, self-preservation mode, and you know aren't able to think of others. You, you won't shoot. That's good. Don't shoot a neighbor. Um, the amount of people being shot for knocking on the wrong door or going to get a ball from a neighbour's garden and stuff like that really scares me. But yes, please don't shoot your neighbours. That's frowned upon. Um, it's illegal, even in that kind of situation, because you've given them permission to enter your house. Is the other thing. Yeah, I'd love a basement though. I would love a basement. I am a secret prepper. I'm not preparing for anything in particular, but and I have been a bit of a in my head a bit of a prepper for a while. Um, Mainly because I've spent most of my adult life without a dependable income, or in income insecurity, or in a situation where my income has been controlled by others, or my access to money has been controlled. So to me, it's kind of I want to be prepared. I don't want to be caught out. I want a supply of tins, canned goods, rice, noodles, whatever else. Mainly so that if we're hit by another pandemic, or there's a kind of a depression or recession or whatever else, I know I can still feed us and the dog, um, and it's not a problem. Even if we live off tinned beans, which are my least favorite food ever, um, then you know we're set. It also means that anyone we know, if they're struggling, we can give them a little supply of food to get them through the next couple of days, because I wouldn't want someone else going without. But I would love to have a basement that I could store foods in, but also yarn. Because in order to have a basement here, you need to spend a lot of money on a house. So I'd be rich. Yeah. If I could, I would. I really would. Um, Ramia says, yes, that is scary. Hate to run out of gas on the road, and no cell phone. Yeah. Um, it is a really scary situation, and I know that for the average American, the average person in the UK or wherever else, that actually these things aren't something we would think of. There are far more people that are good, that are kind, that are not selfish jerks. But it seems to be more and more prevalent that, people feel entitled to do whatever they want. There are times when it feels a little bit like The Purge. Um, that's all I'm saying. Um, you know? Yeah. So it's, I'm really glad that there are people like you, Ramius, like, um, Loopy and Zayden and, um, so many others in this amazing community that are in it for the community, whether that's physically our neighbors or our friends, people in need, charity works, making things, skill swaps, um, as well. And I really do. I love that. Those are the things that make life worth living, isn't it? That make life a lot easier, and I love that. Sorry. Loopy says, "We are too low to create basements. I'm one of the few that isn't required to get flood insurance." Really? Wow. That's amazing. But yeah, when you're so close to sea level, and with the tide surges and the amount of rain that falls with the weather that you have at times, um, I can imagine that a basement would be less of a shelter, and more of an issue. I can imagine that um, being really hard. Yeah, I just can't imagine it. Uh, Ramius says, "No flood insurance and live in Florida." Wow, I thought the entire state was flood prone. I did too. I did too. Um, because I know that that Florida is really close, like the whole state, really. Um, oh, it's the gosh. Um, Agreed. Having a supportive community is so helpful, especially in tough times, but also to celebrate the good times. Absolutely. And, it is also, oops, sorry, getting overexcited. It is also, you need people around you that recharge your batteries when you're down and celebrate with you when things are good. There are too many people that are fair weather friends, um, you know, and I've known it. People only want to be around when you're in a good place. If you need support, then they're out of it. Or when you're in a good place, or they want support is the other thing. Um, and it's really sad. It's really, really sad. I am popping in the chat. Zayden's channel, The Gorsh, which is just fun games. There's a little bit of serious chat to start off with, and then afterwards, interactive games, which I really enjoyed. By the way, Zayden, I loved being able to join in by being in the chat, which was a lot of fun. And then they play Mad Libs. I still don't fully understand Mad Libs, but that might be because you play by different rules, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, being able to commiserate and celebrate in equal measure, and being able to lift each other up is so important. There are too many people that are willing to tear others down, and the way we change that is by acting differently. We can't change other people, but we can change what we do and how we react to those people. And there's a little bit of peer pressure involved. We can pressure them with positivity, with our actions, into realizing that their behavior is no longer acceptable. And then it's on them. It's their choice, but we have a choice too to say, "No, I'm gonna be positive. I'm gonna be part of the rising tide that lifts all ships." Whether I know a person or not. And I think that's really important. Loopy Miracle, Disney had to bring in so much extra dirt foundation to build and also create an underground basement floor throughout the park. Wow. I had no idea. I knew it was a huge undertaking, but I had no idea they literally shipped in dirt. Um, Ramius adds, read the other day that Disney has a vast underground basements that allow characters to move out of public view to get to other things. That's really clever. Whether it's tunnels or big, open areas or whatever. That's really clever. That's how the magic is made. I love that. But yeah, being able to build up the ground so that you can dig dig underneath it and not be at risk of flood. That's amazing. Hey, I am, yeah, I'm kind of blown away by that. That's really cool. Do, do, do. Just want to, sorry, I am again making sure that I'm not missing anything because of how things have been with YouTube. Brain went blank. Um, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that chat hadn't frozen. Um, I think you had this problem the other day on your streams, Aidan, didn't you? That kind of chat was wonky. Um, it's definitely been wonky for me last couple of streams. It was originally a lot of swampland he got for cheap. Isn't that the whole of Florida? I can't honestly, I can't work out the geography of Florida. Because it just seems to be beaches and swamp, and I don't know how that works. Um, mind you, I can't work out Florida, if I'm honest. Sorry. I try really hard. Sorry, I am probably pulling a really unattractive face. I'm trying to get Stream Elements to do its thing. But it's not. It's me and tech. Right. Yeah, sometimes I just think, what is Florida? I think most people do at the moment. Um, and on that note, having offended millions of Americans, um, now is your chance to say anything else or ask anything else that you would like to, um, because I'm gonna sign off and get some lunch. I haven't eaten yet today, and it's 10 to 2. Um Yeah, the joke is who will fall into the ocean first, Florida or California. I think Florida. I think Florida. But yeah, either could happen, couldn't it? Um, especially with the population growing and growing, and the weight put on essentially artificial land. If dirt has been shipped in and everything else. Ooh, breakfast. Sorry. Breakfast. What's for breakfast? Can I have some? Uh, Ramius, my son took his family to Disney in Florida about a month ago, spent almost $6,000 getting there. Wow. Cost within Disney and home again in a big pickup. Wow. That is so much. Like, I know Disney is expensive. I know. But every time someone tells me how much their trip cost, I'm staggered. It's wild to me. Is it true that inside Disney you can only use Disney money, so you have to exchange it at the gate? Is that Disney? Don't maybe I'm getting that wrong, but that feels right. Um, but yeah, I know. I I just I don't see the value in spending that kind of money to go to Disney. Maybe it's just me, and I'm happy to think that it is just me. Um, I have no frame of reference. Also, the idea of being in such a wide open space full of people terrifies me. Um, but yeah, $6,000 is so much money. Um, you could do so much more with that kind of money for your family. I don't know. Maybe it is just me. Um, I adore my kids, um, but I wouldn't wanna get them on a plane, go to Disney, and, essentially spend what could be 8 or 9,000 pounds from here because of the flight and accommodation and stuff. I mean, not I mean, to me, that kind of money is monopoly money as well, right? It's such a huge amount of money. Um, Maybe if I was in, you know, a couple of brackets higher in income, maybe I'd think differently about it. Um, but yeah, that's wild. So wild. Anyway, on that note, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Take a look at the other videos on the channel, consider subscribing, but more importantly, if you've enjoyed this kind of format, please hit the like button. That is my way of judging whether this is something that you want to do regularly on a Tuesday. Again, I'm going to put, sorry, I'm going to put in the chat my links. If you want to and you can afford to, you can send me a tip to help towards my costs and my time. And you can connect in other ways by going to Linktree and searching for Craftalytical. Because I think my message got cut off there for the text limit. So I need to look at that. Loopy, thank you very much. Zayden, thank you very much. And Ramius, thank you so much for getting up so early and being here. I really appreciate you. Take care, and I'll see you soon.